Hey everyone, I'm very sorry about that. So I just started the stream and I didn't realize that I actually didn't start it through YouTube. I'm very sorry. I know a lot of you have been waiting for quite some time here, and it looks like we've lost quite a few people. It's been, what is this? Yeah, over 30 minutes. So is anyone here? I mean, it shows we have 10 concurrent viewers, but yeah, I don't know if there's very many of us here. Can you send me a notice in the chat here? I'm going to start by just giving a big shout out to everyone who's joined us. Thank you so much. Again, I'm very sorry for the extreme delay here. John D, great for you to join us. Great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us, John D. Holly, always a pleasure. Hello, Athen and fellow Visible Sky friends. Great for you to join us, Holly. Thank you so much. Karmic Kerfuffle, always a pleasure. Hi, everyone, says Karmic. Mystic Media, happy Sunday, everybody. Happy Sunday, Mystic. Thank you so much. Christine Yan, great for you to join us. Karmic has a question. I'll answer that again, because actually I answered that again to myself because I thought I was live and I actually wasn't. But I'll make sure I answer that question for you there, Karmic. Gabriella, the moderator, everyone give a shout out to Gabriella. Thank you so much for moderating. Gabriella, again, sorry for the delay in getting this out. April, great to see you. And all right, John D. It was actually John D's message saying that he wasn't seeing anything that indicated to me that no one was actually listening. All right, so we got a lot more back here. Okay, so we have 20 something here in the chat. Again, very sorry everyone, but thanks for your patience, and we'll get into really this weekly energy. But let's go ahead and start. I want to answer Karmic Kerfuffle's question. So Karmic asks, what is the difference between a planet transiting through your sun sign versus rising sign? For example, I'm a Taurus sun, Gemini rising, Gemini moon, and I'm wondering about the Jupiter transit because, yeah, we just had Jupiter in Taurus, which would have been over your sun, but now we have Jupiter going into Gemini coming up, which is going to be both your rising sign and your moon sign. But the main question is what's the difference between a transit of the ascendant versus a transit of the sun? Okay, so the ascendant is quite different in true sidereal than in Western mainstream tropical. So a lot of you probably know the ascendant as the persona, the sort of mask we wear, how we present ourselves to the outer worlds. So this is very true for tropical, but in true sidereal, we find that the ascendant is more of what life's helping us develop. It's what's rising. The ancients saw this as who we're destined to become, what we're here to learn and grow into in this life. And so if we have a transit over it, that's basically the planet itself is what we're here to develop, whether it's in the natal chart or in transit like Karmic is saying. So in transit, it's this temporary year of having to develop the planet energy. So in the case of Jupiter, Karmic, once Jupiter does go over your ascendant, Jupiter's going to be helping you become more Jupiterian, basically. You're going to probably see a lot of life experiences over this year to help you expand your horizons. Things like maybe travel, adventure, expanding your horizons through philosophy, spirituality, astrology, maybe more, things like this, right? And really expanding your worldview. Now, Jupiter was already over your sun, though. So the difference between the ascendant and the sun is that the sun, although it's very much they're both very similar and they both deal with the identity and the self, which is what sparked the question Karmic's asking, is like these are very similar. But while the ascendant is what life's helping us develop, the sun is our view of life and how we express ourselves. We can think of this as, the sun shining its rays, and it's us shining our rays with our sun. So Jupiter's going to influence that. So, well, for you it already did, but Jupiter in this case would influence how you express yourself. You're going to express yourself probably in a more open-minded, jovial, buoyant, seeing the bigger picture sort of way. You're going to view life through the lens of the bigger picture, of seeing, the higher perspective on life. They're both going to likely deal with, again, a little more adventure, a little bit more of expanding your horizons. But whereas the ascendant is life helping you do more of that, the sun is going to be, well, was for you, but would be you expressing yourself more in that way and viewing life more in that way. So both at the end of the day, helping you become more Jupiterian, more adventurous, more open-minded, but in completely different ways there. All right, but great question. One thing I'll say too is, Jupiter being in your first house, you'll be learning a lot about yourself, with that's something that is part of the Jupiter conjunct the ascendant, is Jupiter in the first. We learn a lot about ourselves. We start to look at ourselves differently. Our identity changes, how we view ourselves changes a lot. And we start to usually get a whole new boost of confidence, self-assertiveness, how we assert ourselves changes, things like this. All for the better, of course. I mean, all the planets are for the better, but Jupiter is an easier planet to work with generally. All right. So, and I wanted to mention too that, we're actually an hour early for those in Europe. So, we had the time changes last night. This is going to be for 3 weeks. I don't know who comes up with this stuff. Like, why aren't we all on the same time zone anyways? But who decides that it was 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks? Because usually it's 2 weeks where the US is different from Europe. Now it's 3. I don't know. But anyways, the next 3 weeks, we are going to be an hour early for Europe. It'll be the same time for everyone in the States. So that's 1:15 p.m. Eastern time of the Americas. I have Zeus here with us here today. But for Europe, it'll be 5:15 Central European time. So it's an hour earlier. We have been meeting at 6:15 Central European time, but for the next 3 weeks, it will be at 5:15. Okay, so I want to make that announcement, and that's for those of you in Europe. Alrighty, April, great to see you. Yep, okay, let's see, where were we here? Gina Swina, great for joining. Just got notified. Okay, awesome. That's right, because once we go live, we notify more people, right? Okay. The Accidental Alchemist, great for you to join. Hello, Soul Family. Desiree, great for you to join us. Thank you. Chris, Winter, Hannah, great to see familiar faces here. So AA, great for you to join. First time I've seen you here. But the question is what's your sun sign? So I'm a sun in Capricorn in true sidereal. I'm a Taurus rising and a Leo moon. Okay, so to kind of use the example we used earlier, so the ascendant is what life's helping us develop. So as a Taurus, life is helping me develop more self-reliance, more resourcefulness, take things a little bit slower, steadier, stop and smell the roses, connect more with nature and the natural world. This is all Taurus stuff. So our rising sign helps us develop more of whatever that sign is. The sun, again, is how we view life. So I view life through the lens of what takes time, patience, perseverance, work, accomplishment, achievement, viewing life through that more kind of long-term and reserved lens. And that's often how I express myself as well. So I express myself more reserved, more professional, talk a lot about things very, sort of practically or more in that earth sense with Capricorn. And then with my moon in Leo, that's my private self. That's the self that those of you who are close to me know, my family knows, and I do let out a little bit, but Leo's all about wanting to have fun, be playful, creative, expressive. So I do have that very shy Leo, because the moon makes things very shy. Shy Leo that does want to express and give and shine light on things and have fun with things. And so, yeah, I'm an interesting sort of combination there with the Capricorn and Leo, I guess you could say. But thanks for asking, AA. Christine, all right, still here. Thanks for sticking around. Very sorry about that. Twinkle from Zims, all right, great for you to join us. Thank you so much. Winter just got here, good timing. All right, good to hear. Oksana, thank you, Gabriella. All right, so it's difficult to hear of the music. Let me go ahead and turn down the music a little bit. Sometimes the Music gets a little bit too loud. All right, let me know if that's a little bit of a better combination there. Okay, right, so let's take a look at this week, because this week is very, very important astrologically. We have lunar eclipse on Friday. We have Mercury going retrograde on Saturday. Lots of important things astrologically. So we have eclipses, eclipse season twice a year. But this one is very significant, I would say, because it's the last eclipse season that we're going to have with the north and south nodes in the Virgo and Pisces axes where they've been for the past 2 years. So let me say all that more simply. Basically, the karmic energy that we've been experiencing the past 2 years is starting to wrap up with this eclipse, okay? And it's been a karmic energy of having to find healthier ways to, well, I would just say healthier ways to live life, a healthier approach to life, okay? Because Virgo is about living life in a way that we do have more control over things, okay? Virgo's about, hey, what do you have control over in life? And, fundamentally it is ourselves, It's really the only thing we have control over in life. And so Virgo helps us control the things we have control over. So it rules our work, it rules our routines, our habits, our personal development, day-to-day life, okay? So that's been clearing a lot of unhealthy stuff this past 2 years. Unhealthy ways of controlling things, or unhealthy ways of working, or unhealthy ways of striving towards perfection and improvement. And basically, if you were to divide, you could divide up life into 2 parts. You could say that half of life let's say it this way. An individual, you could say, half of individuals are every individual is either more neurotic, or more on the neurotic side, which is control, or more on the psychosis side, which is letting go of control. So it's psychological terms, right? You have neurosis, psychosis. Neurosis is the part of ourselves that wants to control and, have everything structured. The psychosis part of ourselves wants to let go of control, go with the flow, and just be at peace. And we all have different proportions of this, right? And this is very much what Virgo and Pisces are about. Virgo is the neurosis, Pisces is the psychosis part of life and ourselves. So the neurosis part, the control part, this is where we've had the south node for really over 2 years now. And this is what we've been releasing unhealthy things with, okay? So unhealthy work, like I said, perfection, details, nitty gritty, right? This has been clearing. And this is the last lunar eclipse of it, meaning, so the last clearing of this for the past 2 years, okay? Once we get to about the summertime, the nodes will change signs. So we'll have the south node going into Leo, and we'll have the north node going into Aquarius. At different times, but around the middle part of the year, okay? So this being, the sort of last eclipses with these nodes here, okay? Because eclipses are always associated with the nodes. So on Friday, the days surrounding Friday, really good time to do a status check. I would say, how has been the last 2 years in terms of, having a different attitude to the neurosis or control elements of life or of yourself? And how can you do some final clearing with that? So it's done healthier, right? And more healthier and balanced sort of way, right? This is big. This is going to clear us. It's going to feel more freeing. We're going to liberate. We're going to be more healthier. We're going to live life in a way that we are more healthfully going about the neurosis side of life. Healthfully focusing on what we have control over, healthfully doing our work or day-to-day life, our routines and things like this. So it's a great opportunity on Friday to make some shifts and changes with this. And I would say for the next 6 months in particular. Now the north node, which of course the sun will be activating, and we'll have the solar eclipse in 2 weeks from now, which will be in Pisces, okay? But still activated with the lunar eclipse. All lunar eclipses are activating both. The full moons activate both. So in order to do this Virgo stuff healthfully, it's all about incorporating healthy Pisces. So Pisces, the psychosis piece, is to see how we can, well, let go of control. Now, we don't want to do that to an extreme, right? Obviously, like they say, those that are psychotic, go to the extreme of this, which would be like completely losing touch with reality. So we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to go so far into psychosis that we lose touch with reality. But of course, we need to do this in equal and moderate proportion. And so letting go of control, finding more peace in life, doing things because it's more soul-fulfilling or spiritually fulfilling, right? Instead of because of the physical reasons, right? And to, I think, see that, see where we do give our power away to things, right? Because we could say that, Pisces is about this sort of realization that this is all this physical experience. And this physical experience is great, okay? It can be great, this physical life. But if you do believe that we all are spiritual beings, here to have a physical experience, but that we're all spiritual beings, Pisces is really about connecting to that 0 point, the soul. And that's why it's the fish. And it's fish who are tied together by a string. So there's two different fish, usually swimming in opposite directions. This is representing duality, okay? Left, right, good, bad, right? How we view life just, as humans. But the two fish are tied together by a string, and in each of those strings are tied to the 0 point. They come to the 0 point, this part of Pisces right here. And this is a reminder that we're all connected, okay? So Pisces helps us be more compassionate, more accepting, more understanding, right? But that we all are spiritual beings, and it helps us connect more to what we might call the soul or the spirit. And this is what it means to have less control and to buy in to less of the physical world, right? We don't want to do that to the extreme where we lose touch with the physical world, but we can buy into it less. And I think this is really what Pisces is about. It's funny that, the Stoics from Greek history, talk a lot about this idea of giving our power away to externals, things outside of ourself, our money, even our physical bodies, health. Unfortunately, that's a very difficult one. But also relationships or our careers, all these things, we make all these external things that are outside of the soul. We make our happiness dependent on these things, and isn't that funny? Because happiness comes from within, well-being, spiritual well-being comes from within. And we give so much power to these externals, as they would say. And so Pisces is a reminder to connect to that inner state. And even though life can be very challenging at times, and Pisces will certainly, it's a challenging energy, will bring up these experiences, challenging experiences. But I do believe it's all there to help us have a better attitude and approach to life. And as we then approach life with more of this, being aware that, we have everything we need within, fundamentally, maybe not physically, but as a soul, as a spirit. And we do become more aware of where we're giving our power away. We're making things outside of ourselves. We're making our happiness dependent on these things outside of ourselves. We can live a little bit more at peace. We can live a little bit more soul connected. And, it's this kind of perspective that Pisces is really helping us develop. So this is huge right now. And not only because of the North Node and what will be the solar eclipse, but because this is where the retrogrades are. So we had Venus retrograde in Pisces. This has already been going on. I think it's been 2 weeks now, if I'm not mistaken, or a little over a week. Or was it last week she went retrograde? Actually, I think it's just a little over a week. Anyways, Venus is retrograde right now. It's been a time already to be reflecting on this kind of stuff. How are we connecting to life? How are we approaching life? With Venus specifically, how are we connecting to life? Are we connecting to life in this receptive way? Are we more connected with our soul? And with Venus, it's often with relationships. Are we connecting to others in this more receptive, compassionate, unconditional. We're all connected, just in this more Piscean way. And that's been important. But now Mercury's going to go retrograde on Saturday. And so Saturday will be a little bit of a pause. Now Mercury goes retrograde very often, 3 times a year. So it's not as important as like Venus, a little over a year, but still important. And, things pausing a little bit on Saturday with the day-to-day life. Maybe there's some things with our routines, our work, or day-to-day life that just need to be paused with on the weekend. And then go through, again, the reflection. We hear about retrogrades being a time where it's bad and we shouldn't do things and we should avoid things. But as a lot of you know, I don't believe in that. And I believe retrogrades are very great opportunities to learn. And that's, I think, a great way of approaching these next 3 weeks is how can we learn a little bit more about living a daily life that is more receptive and more intuitive. All right, so Zeus wants to say hi to everybody. I don't know if you'll be able to see. It's such a big dog. Oh. Say hi to everybody. There's Zeus. Jupiter, actually. So Zeus was the... I don't know if you could hear me there, but Zeus was the Greek version of the Roman Jupiter. So when we look at Jupiter in astrology, we might as well call him Zeus. That's what the Greeks called him. But we use the Roman terms, which came later. Anyways, lots of Pisces. So, good time to be approaching life, with this sort of perspective of living a little bit more at peace there. All right, and balancing that with the Virgo. All right, so let me go through the chat. All right, Zeus. He wants to crawl up on the chair. I don't want you to crawl up on me. All right, that's enough. Hey, Frequency, great for you to join us. So Mystic asks, how is a relationship composite chart calculated? So we have 2 types, Synastry and composite. So Synastry chart is where you overlay charts on top of each other. So I'll go ahead and just do an example here. So I was just working with Trump's chart in a session. So let's do Trump and Elon Musk, okay? So here's Trump's chart, here's Musk's chart. So with Synastry, we would just simply overlay them. So for example, I go up here to Synastry with Prometheus. I'm going to select Trump and then Musk. And now we have, well, not now, but in just a second. Now we have them overlaid. So we have Trump's chart in the middle and we have Musk's chart on the outside. And here we can see the where the planets are located. So whenever we see things that are next to each other, that's a conjunction, right? And so that's a very strong glue. That's actually a very strong connection. We actually have quite a few. I haven't even looked at this yet, by the way. But I can already tell that we have a lot of strong connection here with a lot of the conjunctions in this sort of region of the chart here with the Mercury and the Sun. But we look for that. We also want to see planets in the 1st house or 7th house for good synastry. So as you can see, Musk has his moon in Trump's 1st house. That's actually really good for compatibility. So we do these kinds of things for synastry. And of course, we would overlay it the other way if we wanted to see what it looked the other way. Again, we have strong glue, Venus in the 1st, and of course the same conjunction. So that's synastry. But then we also have composite, which is where you're taking the midpoints. So for example, we have Trump's sun is in Taurus, Elon's sun is in Gemini, and so the composite's going to be in Taurus, I believe. Actually, it's going to be right a little bit closer to Gemini. But anyways, it's going to be in the halfway point between the two, and it's going to plot that. So the composite is the midpoints of all the planets. And then you read it like a normal chart. So we can do it here. Select Trump. I'm going to go to, it's called combined in Prometheus. Go to combined. And then I'm going to go Trump and Musk. And then I'm going to have to change this for Prometheus. I have to change this to the ascendant. Hit OK. And as I said, it's like right there at the beginning of Gemini, because that was the midpoint of the sun. But we're doing that for all the planets. We find the midpoints for all the planets and we plot it, including the ascendant. And this would be the chart of the relationship. You can read it just like a regular natal chart, any other chart in astrology, but it's the chart for the relationship itself. But great question. Thanks for asking that. It's so hard for me to keep my place. It looks like I skipped a question. So Winter asked, is the sidereal rising similar to the Vedic primary placement? So the primary here would be what I call the chart ruler. That's what we call the chart ruler in Western. So I'm still using Western techniques for the most part, and obviously I'm Westerner, so I'm using Western semantics, verbiage. It's the same, but we would call it the chart ruler. So, for example, for Trump, his rising sign's Leo, and because the sun rules Leo, the sun is Trump's chart ruler or primary. And so we would then analyze the sun in the context of the ascendant. Again, the ascendant's what life's helping us develop. In this case, life is helping Trump express himself, cultivate more of, playful, creative, humorous sort of energy of life, have more fun, joy, things like this. This would likely be something that's increased in his personality. The ascendant, like I said, it's not so much what we're born with in true sidereal, it's more of what life's helping us develop. So as long as Trump is doing that, expressing himself and trying to have a little more of that playful or lighthearted view of life, then he's very much in alignment with his life energy. Now the chart ruler or the primary is how and where we'll do that. So Trump's sun, for example, is in the 10th house and in Taurus. And by the way, he was born during a lunar eclipse, very powerful chart actually. But the Taurus in the 10th is how he will cultivate that self-expression. Obviously, right? Because the sun is about self-expression. So how and where he'll do that Leo stuff, how and where he'll express himself. So he'll do it in a Taurus way, which is a very grounded, very resourceful, very self-reliant way. And he'll do it through the 10th house, which is the area of achievements and accomplishments and career, which is very much Trump. Okay, so that's a good example of reading the chart ruler or the primary placement in Vedic astrology. But that's how it's associated with the ascendant. It's the planet that rules the ascendant, and it gives us more information on the ascendant. All right. Holly is a Leo ascendant. All right, cool, Holly. That means we have good synastry then, because it means my moon is in your first house, so we would get along quite well in person. Zena, my Jupiter is retrograde in Pisces. Any thoughts on that is appreciated. My Jupiter is retrograde in Pisces. So, well, first of all, when you're dealing with the outer planets, and this is for everybody, the retrogrades don't mean as much. And that's because these planets are retrograde for almost half the year. Now, Jupiter is only 4 months out of the year, but generally it's a very long time. So you have like a 50-50 chance basically that one of the outer planets are retrograde. It just means it's on the opposite part of the chart from your sun. Okay. But in Pisces, it's how we want to express that planet's energy. Now, because Jupiter is not a very personal planet, the placement doesn't come through very strongly in the personality, but it's something that we can develop. And with Jupiter is the part of ourself that's developing a little bit more of an open-minded view of life, okay? Manifesting things in life a little bit in a healthy way. And so with Pisces, life's saying, okay, the way you manifest your life is through that Pisces stuff we talked about, more receptively, more intuitively, more soul-connected. And that if you can find the healthy ways of manifesting your life in that way, trusting your intuition, being guided by your soul, approaching life in a way it's having healthy, coping and healthy, mental health and spiritual health. This is all going to help you manifest. It's all going to help you create more abundance in your life and basically do a lot of that Jupiter stuff. AA, I'm Aquarius rising. All right, cool. My chart ruler is in Aquarius. So that's where the innovation, I think, of mastering the zodiac comes in, at least as far as what I've brought to the table here. But Aquarius is the visionary, yeah. So Aquarius rising, life's helping you become more of that challenging of the status quo, more visionary, more contribution, technology, innovation. Now, depending on if you have any planets there, it's like you're not actually born with that energy, with the rising. That's for everybody. You're not born with that energy of your rising sign, but life is definitely helping you develop it. And AA, if you look at your life experiences, I think you'll see that they've definitely been helping you get outside the box, challenge the status quo, be more of your individual, unorthodox, weird self that we all are in our own ways. But you will become more of that Aquarian through time because of that. All right. Papa Press, thanks for joining. First time I've caught the live stream. Great to hear that. Just got my reading yesterday. So accurate. Oh, very happy to hear that. And happy that you're with us. Oh, AA is a Leo moon as well. Cool. So Zena wants to know, can you say more about the moon making everything shy? Yeah, so the moon, so we talked about the sun being sort of how we express ourselves. And this is really more yang part of the self. We just kind of are our sun sign. We express ourselves in that way. But the moon, it's the internal self. And, just like the tides, it ebbs and flows. It's very emotional dependent and it changes frequently. So because of its changing nature, right, it's naturally the part of ourself that's more unsure. So I use the word shy specifically because it's Leo and because Leo wants to be seen and it's like wants to give. And so it can reflect more as shyness. But the moon in general is more of where we have what you might call just some insecure, and I don't mean it in the deepest sense either. I just mean it's where we can have some insecurities, okay? We're not always feeling like doing the moon thing. So let's talk about it for Trump since I have his chart up. So his moon is in Ophiuchus, okay, which is very interesting. He was born during a lunar eclipse in Ophiuchus, for those that don't know that. But the moon here, again, his inner worlds, in the healer constellation, means that he first of all, as the moon here, he's attuned to, he wants to go into the deeper world. And he wants to heal and do all this Ophiuchus stuff. But he's likely not going to be very confident in doing it, okay? That's why, his confidence is more on the top of the chart with the sun, achievement, accomplishment, all that stuff, the public life. But this is happening in his personal life. The moon is our personal life. It's our inner world. And so, for Trump, in terms of, having more of a deeper connection, deeper relationships, interdependency, relying on others on us, healing, in terms of shadow work and deep diving. These are things he's actually apparently, I wouldn't know this about him, but apparently he's into it. He's attuned to it. It's there in his personality. It's the moon, but he's not going to feel very confident in doing that. It's going to be something that comes and goes like the tides, feels insecure about it at times, but is an emotional need. And so if we can cultivate our moon sign, we will be in much better health. Our mental health, emotional health will be much better. But we have to it's like our inner child. We have to give it space. It comes at its own time. We have to nurture it. We have to care for it. It's that sensitive part of the self. Okay, so hopefully that really clarifies the moon there. And it's a part of the moon that doesn't really get a whole lot of attention, I think, in astrology. Very important to know that. Sometimes someone will say, oh, you're a moon in this, and so you must be like that. Like, oh, I must be a Leo or whatever. But I don't feel like a Leo because that's my private, that's my private self. I don't feel like I'm very, playful or expressive or lighthearted. I want to be, and I try to be like in my private life and my home life, but again, for me as a Leo moon, I feel very insecure and doubtful about that. So that's the yin elements of the moon. But again, we need it. So we need to be doing that stuff. Like I need to be creating and expressing myself and doing this kinds of stuff because it makes it good for my emotional and mental health. So these are a much deeper way of reading the moon that I think is very important. The moon is equally as important as the sun, even though it's not very visible. All right, Sue M, thanks for joining. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Sue M, I think is how you say that. Sue M 00. All right, so we'll be wrapping up here. So again, for those that are just joining from Europe, we did get started earlier because of the time zone change. So just for the next 3 weeks, so this Sunday and the next 2 Sundays, it will be at 5:15 Central European time. Okay, so it's an hour early just for those 3 weeks because of the time zone change. But that's going to stay 1:15 p.m. Eastern time of the Americas. All right, so just a couple more here and we'll go ahead and wrap up. Amy, can you explain the Aries 15 degrees and 45 degrees? I see people use both. Right, so Amy's talking about this part here, Prometheus. So this is basically the adjustment that we make for precession, the adjustment we make for the difference between tropical and sidereal. The reason it changes, the reason we sometimes use 15 and sometimes 45 is that amount of precession, which is the changing zodiac signs, needs to be accounted for whether you're using a chart for today or a chart for someone like who's like 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. So a birth chart. So we have one called Zodiac 13 birth chart, this is the 15 one. This is the standard one, which we use for birth charts, natal charts. But if I was to if I wanted to get more precise with the current sky, I would change it to 45, and that's going to just Zodiac 13 regular, and that's adjusting for precession. So it's a 30 degrees difference, and you can see how it just slightly changed things there just a little bit. It's just a way to get a little bit more precise for either a chart from today or a chart for what we're averaging out from 1970. So the 15 is for an average of 1970. Which is just the way we're doing it with Prometheus to account for precession, the slow changing of the sky relative to the seasons, since everything is, all the astrology softwares are actually all fundamentally rooted in tropical. All right, let's see. Fantana Rena, Libra ascendant, Cancer sun. Thanks for sharing. Aquarius sky clock, great to see you. John D, moon and Sag, awesome. So that's great too. We get along great too. Moon signs and fire signs. AA. I have Ophiuchus midheaven, but not a lot of information out there. Do you know why? Well, Ophiuchus was removed, from the zodiac, and I think it was because they wanted to simplify the zodiac. But I don't think it was for the zodiac. I think it was just to make calendars and clocks. They're simplifying things for calendars and clocks, because 13 is a weird number, 13 signs. So 12, much easier to divide, to have imagine a clock with 13 hours. That would be confusing. I still think we should have a 13 months in the year calendar, because we have 13 lunar cycles every year, and to account for the 13th sign as well. But yeah, I don't know. Why do they remove the 13th floor from the elevator? We could get into all kinds of conspiracies that maybe was done on purpose too. Ophiuchus is extremely important and very powerful part of the sky. It's where we have the center of the Milky Way, center of our galaxy. We revolve around the sun, but our whole solar system is revolving around the galactic center, the middle of the Milky Way, and that is where Ophiuchus is. Mystic, I have Sun conjunct the South Node in Virgo. Have a feeling this eclipse will be powerful. So North Node in Virgo, yeah. So you're having My sun conjunct the south node in Virgo. So yeah, it's going to activate your south node. And you're also having your north node return. Yeah, very significant. Holly, moon is in Taurus in the 9th. Awesome. Moon in Sagittarius here, all right? Lots of moon fire signs. 5 Virgo placements, all right. All right, so sorry I couldn't get to all of your questions here. Gabriella, if you could mark down Rob's question. How do you describe natal moon in Cancer? Oh, I'm sorry. So never mind. Rob, that's too specific. If you could ask a general question next time, something that applies to everybody, I'm happy to answer those so we can all benefit from that. All right. But anyways, thank you, everybody. Hope you have an awesome week. Have an awesome eclipse. I hope this was helpful. I hope it gave a little more clarity to the, how to work with, just a different perspective, I hope, on how to work with some of this eclipse stuff. But have a great one, everyone, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.